is reenacted thousands of times every day.
Crossing an unbroken lane line. It's a fine of $135, which is payable within 21 days.
Most there means a lecture for the driver and/or a hefty fine. Incorrect lane changing is one driving fault which North Region Highway Patrols will be focusing on this month as part of the enforcement calendar. But they'll also be paying particular attention to seatbelt regulations, especially for passengers.
A lot of people aren't aware, but children are not permitted to travel in the front seat where there's a rear seat position available. And adults, as far as travelling, especially in taxis, even though the taxi driver is not required to wear his seatbelt, they still are.
Motorists can expect to see plenty of infringement notices being handed out, but they might be more surprised if they're pulled over for no apparent offence at all. The Highway Patrol is taking community relations to the street by stopping motorists at random to give them not tickets, but information leaflets on better driving. How do you think they'll react to seeing the blue light in the rear vision mirror and going through the usual anxiety?
Hopefully they won't have an accident and they will pull over safely. We'll just have a talk to them and help them realise that we're not just out there to give tickets, we are there to educate them.
A Merewether local for the past 88 years, she says eating parsley and drinking sarsaparilla is her secret for avoiding arthritis and living to the ripe old age of 100. Known as the Parsley Lady for this lifelong habit, today, however, Mrs. Wyber tucked into plenty of celebratory birthday cake for this special occasion. Telegrams were read out from the Queen, the Prime Minister Bob Hawke and his wife Hazel, as well as other important Australians, including the Governor-General, Bill Hayden. Lily Wyber has outlived her 2 sons. She has a daughter, 5 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
He's a jolly good fellow, but she's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us.
The bulk carrier Mayor today loaded the shipment using modified equipment. Until now, around 2,000 tonnes of lead per month from the Sulphide Corporation at Cockle Creek had been railed in containers to Sydney for shipment. The manager of shipping agent Patrick Operations believes this 1,800-tonne cargo will open the way for the export market direct from Newcastle.
The company that's carrying the cargo, Gearbulk, they're a pretty innovative company, and they've been carrying aluminium from here in unitised mode for some years, and I'm sure that this will attract other customers to export through Newcastle.
The Mayor will sell direct to Korea as part of the regular service for this special cargo. Spreader equipment used to move aluminium ingots has been modified to shift the lead bullion units in 20-tonne lifts.
There were quite a number of thousands of dollars spent on modifications to the aluminium spreaders that have been used for about 5 years, and these went exceptionally well. Newcastle Engineering did the operation, and the carriage by Brambles and the waterside workers worked exceptionally well, and the whole operation went very smoothly.
They're the face of Australia's flying future. 5 crack fighter pilots who touched down this morning at the Williamtown base to end the mini-war they've been fighting for the past 5 months. It's been the battle to complete the RAF's toughest flying course, the Fighter Combat Instructors course. In RAF circles, they call it Top Gun. Over the last 5 months, these pilots have learnt just about everything there is to know about a Hornet. At times when the going got really tough, they said they hated the sight of them. But it was the killer instinct that kept them flying. The same killer instinct that has earned them the title of some of the best pilots ever to fly for the Royal Australian Air Force.
They will keep loading you up until you do something wrong. And the whole idea is for you to store that away and recognise it and be able to overcome it next time. So it can get quite quite stressful, you know, to the point where you just couldn't be bothered doing it anymore.
There was one final mission for these fighter pilots before they could become fully fledged FCIs, a dawn strike on the Singleton range. Yesterday they flew to Sale in Victoria to bomb up. Under the cover of today's pre-dawn, they flew to Singleton. At sunrise, they touched down at Williamtown, the end of the toughest assignment they'd ever tackled, and they couldn't wait to celebrate.
Cheers, mate.
6 pilots began the specialist course, 5 finished. As the CO put it, the 6 just didn't make the grade. Among the fabulous 5 was 25-year-old Williamtown pilot John Lonigan, one of the youngest fighter pilots to be declared a Top Gun. 5 months ago, he regarded himself a good fighter pilot. Now he says he knows what good really means.
The whole course is aimed at being super critical of anything you do. So you can come back from a sortie which any other guy in one of the squadrons might think was, you know, was great, no problems, and you can sit down for hours and pick out all the fine points, and that's just what they're teaching us to do, to be very analytical.
The Northern Districts Amateur Swimming Association held the first session of their winter championships with competitors competing in all age groups and events. The second session will be held at Singleton later this month. At the championships this morning, the Ron Faraday Award was presented for the outstanding swimmer in the region over the past 12 months, and the judges couldn't split Gary Stretton, a diver from the Newcastle Central Club, and the brilliant Jared Anthony, the stylish swimmer from the Hunter Club. A joint award was presented to both Gary and Jared.
It was a case of gumboots, mud and garbage as more than 200 people joined in. Everyone from grandmothers to toddlers turned out to lend a hand and clean the creek and surrounding banks from Mayfield to the Hannell Street Bridge. Local businesses also got behind the clean-up, donating trucks, tractors and the workers at the coal loaders chipped in to buy hundreds of gumboots and gloves. Trash from shopping trolleys, mattresses and reams of wire mesh were collected. Organiser Marilyn Hay says it's hoped the public response will prompt the state government into restoring the creek to its original beauty.
The people who have lived in Tyers Hill for a very long time tell us when they used to come down here, catch prawns as kids, they used to swim in the creek. They always had the Throsby Creek Regatta down here, and it has a potential to be one of the most beautiful spots in Newcastle. It is so close to the city centre, and of course a continuation of what has happened at the east end of Newcastle Harbour.
Meanwhile, more hypodermic syringes were found on Caves Beach today. Large fines over the weekend has prompted the Lake Macquarie Council to begin an inquiry into the origin of the needles. Mayor of Lake Macquarie, Ivan Welsh, believes due to the large numbers found, it may be a medical practice dumping the syringes and not drug users. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
We are doing our demonstration and to strongly protest such kind of military action.
The first syringes were washed up on local beaches on Saturday after last week's large seas and rains forced the water board to discharge some unscreened effluent. The group's board riders, after seeing an NBN report on Saturday on the syringes washed up on Caves Beach, searched Leggy Point area and found 104 syringes yesterday. A search this morning along Burwood Beach turned up 45 syringes in just 15 minutes and no less than 261 by late this afternoon. Medical debris washed up along the high water mark today included intravenous drip inserts, enema tubes and thousands of cotton bud stems. Board rider Andrew Edwards says it's gone beyond a joke.
But we've been associated with this area for over 20 years. We've put up with the pollution in the form of, the toilet outlets, etc., etc. Now we're facing the worst problem we've ever faced in years. We're facing syringes, and who knows what else is involved in this. I mean, if this isn't policed properly, what else are we putting up with in the water and on the beach?
The new Burwood Beach Ocean outfall has apparently spread the refuse further down the coast. Member for Swansea, Ivan Welsh, is less than impressed.
Well, we've asked the police to have the substance in the needles analysed to see whether A, it's human, or B, animal blood, first of all, to see what the other substances may be. That will give us an indication of what the syringes are being used for. But from what you've said today, there have been colostomy bags found down there as well, and it just points to a clinic for sure.
One common fear is that a child collecting driftwood or fishermen walking the beach at night will come into contact with the rubbish and come away with the disease. In a bid to minimise the threat, Lake Macquarie Council will continue beach clean-up patrols throughout the winter months, while police concentrate on catching the organisation responsible for the dumping. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
It's not often I tackle a news story bare-shouldered and, horror of horrors, bare-faced. But in the name of news, I did just that at the School of Beauty Therapy today. Well, this is how it all begins, and as you can see, we're down to the bare essentials. It's probably the biggest challenge that the TAFE School of Beauty Therapy is ever going to face, and we're all hoping that Elizabeth here can turn this sow's ear into a silk purse. Just 2 years old, the school is slowly gaining recognition, chiefly through the standard of work its apprentices are continuing to turn out. At the moment, 18 are enrolled, all are employed by local salons and attend the TAFE each Tuesday for tutoring.
We're getting the 4 years of practical experience, of knowing the clients, like we're being paid to be worked, like to work and learn. We're having our TAFE for 2 years, and it's just a lot better. We find that we get a lot more out of it.
Today turned out to be probably Elizabeth's hardest lesson ever. After the cleansing and diagnosis, there was the strawberry mask, which smelt very, very nice, and a refreshing hot towel. Well, this is it. They're finished. Don't it look better?
Yeah, huge improvement.
And then the big test of the day, the makeover. First the concealer, and plenty of it. Then the foundation, the blush, a dab of eyeshadow here, and a dab of eyeshadow there. A smidge of eyeliner, a blob of mascara, and at last the lippy. And then the moment we'd all been waiting for. Voila, not so bad if I may say so myself. With a makeup job like this, might even get a job in television.
Open season on citizens remains, and Beijing echoes again to the crackle of gunfire as troops loyal to the Communist Party hardline manoeuvre to defensive positions. There are already reports of soldiers fighting soldiers on the city outskirts, the offensive rumoured to be mounted by the 38th Army Group garrisoned near Beijing. These are soldiers loyal to Reformist Party chief Gao Ziyong and Defence Minister Qin Ji-wai, soldiers who failed to move on the students in the early days of martial law. Elsewhere around the city, further evidence of a military in disarray. Here, the burnt-out hulks of one convoy, 73 armoured cars and trucks, abandoned and torched by their own men. Today, citizens gaze with satisfaction on the ghost convoy and applauded soldiers with no stomach for killing their own. It is elements like this within the army that now hold the key to China's bewildering power struggle, and those ready to still follow orders that raise the ante to the very rim of civil war. Again today, automatic weapon fire repeatedly raked city streets as soldiers roamed in search of resistance. and as filmed by a police camera, citizens answer the bullets with sticks and stones. The convoy here driving on as one truck is bludgeoned to a stall. The driver wrenched from his cabin to face the wrath of the people. And back on the avenue of eternal peace, a lone David confronts Goliath. Enraged to the point of insanity by the toll of countrymen fighting countrymen, he stood motionless in the path of a column of tanks. The lead tank moved to go round. He moved to block the way. He clambered onto the turret, shouting, "Stop! Stop the killing!" Friends dragged him off before the commander lost his patience. But for 3 minutes, one man stopped an army. One citizen of a nation of 1.1 billion.
There are 1,500 Australians in China, and with the exception of our diplomatic staff, all have now been told to leave as quickly as possible. But with a critical shortage of aircraft seats, none available from Beijing until Sunday, the federal government is now preparing plans for emergency evacuations, using either a special Qantas charter or one of the Air Force's Boeing 707s. Our embassy in Beijing is already protecting Australian students there.
In Sydney Square, around 5,000 Chinese students gathered in front of the town hall to mark the fallen in Beijing. All were filled with unrestrained sorrow after the news their countrymen and women had been slain in such a brutal manner by the People's Army. The despair over the killings was expressed openly in what was perhaps one of the most emotional rallies ever held in Sydney.
What have we done to deserve such cruel slaughter? Where is justice?
After the eulogies were read, the rally marched peacefully to the Chinese consulate in South Sydney. Thousands surrounded the building, which was closed. No one was expecting to meet consular officials, but there were heated arguments when police initially refused to accept the many wreaths which had been prepared. Eventually, to the cheers of protesters, the police relented.
While the police have at least shown some sensitivity by placing the wreaths on the front steps of the consulate, the students are still furious. The consulate is refusing to lower the flag to half-mast.
In the only ugly moment of the day, the building was bombarded with eggs and paint bombs. All the time, the police kept behind the barricades. In another show of defiance, one protester burned his Chinese passport.
CIG says the refurbishment is a gesture of faith in the future of Newcastle. It's the biggest expansion of the operation since the company first opened here in 1926. Much of the money has been spent on redesigning office facilities, reclaiming land and providing new gas filling stations to meet the demand for high technology welding techniques. 50 employees help maintain a gas cylinder service which extends to almost 50 outlets in both the city and country. Operations manager Jim Farhart says the refurbishment allows the company to make the most of a growing market.
Customer demand has increased by some 20% over last year, and we're expecting to maintain that demand throughout this year, and hopefully if any new work comes up in the Newcastle area in future, we'll be able to capitalise on it.
Representatives from the region pledged their solidarity and to continue that support if the contract is won. The conference was organised by the Hunter Regional Association of Councils together with Cessnock Council in the belief that much of the necessary forward planning will fall on local government. Councillor Ivor Peebles, Association President, said for too long the region had trained its young people to standards of excellence only to see them look elsewhere for work. He says the frigate contract could reverse that trend. Member for Charlton, Bob Brown, believes today's groundswell of support could influence the decision to be announced in August.
if you have a regional commitment of that kind, a commitment of a kind which has never previously been undertaken either in this region or in any other region in Australia, I think it has to have some powerful, at least psychological influence on those people who are charged with the responsibility of making the decisions or giving the advice.
Emergency crews were called out when diesel started seeping out of the ground outside the disused Goodser and Cooper yard on Wallenby Road around 10 this morning. The liquid gushed across the main road towards a creek, catching unsuspecting motorists by surprise.
The only danger really was the traffic hazard. The oil was spilt all over the road, or was seeping through the ground onto the road. The cars passing through the spill scattered across the highway. So the numerous cars were sleeping in it. So on arrival we applied Slixit, which is a degreasel, then washed that away and applied sand from the council.
It's believed the leak was caused by the removal of a tank from the yard. Police, fire brigade and the Pollution Control Board are investigating.
Taking a well-earned rest from the rigours of the NBL, the Falcons play their second international for 1989. They easily accounted for the New Zealand national team earlier this year and tomorrow night face the high-ranking USA Big 8 All-Star team. With many players destined for the national leagues, this team is chock full of talent according to Falcons captain Michael Johnson.
We struggled a little bit over here, obviously trying to get used to the conditions, but they have some excellent players. A guy named Rick Kellaway who played for Bobby Knight at Indiana, and Mike Mannix, who's at Kansas, who also won the national championship 2 years ago, and a big 7'2" centre, white guy by the name of Rich King from Nebraska. So they're an excellent side indeed.
For Dennis Kibble, who will coach the Falcons in Ken Pole's absence, it's a chance to see how the Falcons have improved since their great win last weekend against North Melbourne.
We'll be looking for a win first and foremost, because there's nothing like to keep that winning feeling amongst the team, and it was a great win last week from all aspects of the game. So we'll be going in. I've spoken to the team this week, and I'll be co-coach with Claude Williams, and we've discussed the game. We'll certainly be going all out to win it. We're treating it as another NBL game. We obviously will have the opportunity, won't have the pressure of winning, but we'll certainly win, and we'll be able to feed some of our players that haven't been able to hit the court on us so much, and we'll still come up with a victory, I think.
And with a match that promises to be one of the most exciting this year, a large crowd is expected.
Well, I'd hope that people come out to see this because, as I said, there are some very talented players, and it'd be a shame to see the crowd not come out because I think they'll see an exceptional game of basketball.
One of the biggest powerboat race meetings seen on Lake Macquarie is being conducted by the Royal Motor Yacht Club of Toronto over the 3 days of the long weekend. The program has attracted a record number of entries, with boats coming from interstate as well as a large contingent from New South Wales. From 25 horsepower craft to the thumping power of the unlimited unrestricted inboards, the action will be furious as the boats fight for the coveted Kip Pike, Ken Waggett and Alan Hatherell Memorial Races and the Northern Districts Championship. The Nelson Bay Tennis Club will host a big tournament over the weekend, and it's attracted a top-class field in both the men's and ladies' singles. Brian Williams will start favourite for the men's title, and his sister Anne Hamilton looks in good shape to take out the ladies' singles. And tonight the Newcastle Falcons are opposed to the American Big 8 All-Star team at the Newcastle Sports Entertainment Centre in what should be the clash of the season.